such tools is the topic on which I will be talking today. So it will, I hope, because you have about more than 100 participants along with, and all are the young students of your institution, and most of you are, I think, undergraduate, and I think that the invitation has been extended to the outside people also. Acha, one more thing I would like to know and understand is that, okay, what type of screen is coming on your side? Is it a full screen presentation coming to you, or it's just a it means you are able to see the next slide and all these things also? Please tell me. So accordingly, I will tweak it from here.
Yes, sir.
So what you are able to see, the full screen or the splitted screen? Yes, please.
Sir, right now the presentation is not visible.
Okay. So is it visible now?
No, sir.
Sir, on your screen there is an option present now.
Yeah, I've already done that.
A share screen.
Hold on, hold on. Yeah, present now is there, and previously I took it up.
Share screen option.
Yeah, share screen option. Yeah, your entire screen or window in the tab.
Then OK need to be pressed.
Yeah, and PowerPoint presentation. And now can you see it now? Is it
Yes.
visible to you
Yes,
now?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's coming full screen on your screen.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Hold on. If I just go with, are you able to see it now again or not?
No,
No,
sir.
sir. No, no, sir.
What is coming? A blue screen might be there on your screen. Is it so?
No, sir. Nothing is visible.
Nothing is visible. So is it a black screen or what?
So it's a tiled screen where all people are visible.
Okay. Hold
You
on.
need to auto the layout.
Actually, I'm not that this much well versed with this.
Sir, just send me your PPT. I will present your PPT, right?
No, I can do it. Just hold on. That's what how I will learn then. So that's what I'm doing is that I'm now sharing the entire screen. Now there are two screens. Now please tell me, are you able to see my blue screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Right?
Blue
Yes.
screen is
Yes, sir.
Fine. So and I hope you will be able to see the PPT now.
yes.
Yes,
Sir.
Am I
Yes,
correct?
sir.
yes.
Yes, sir.
So had I been sharing my PPT with you, no problem. This PPT all belongs to you. I will share this all with you. No problem. It's all yours. But how I would have learned that how to do it, because with Google Meets I have done, I think, not more than 3-4 workshops out of 50 which I have delivered in this lockdown period. So that was the thing. Anyways, so now is it visible to you? So qualitative and quantitative research tools is the topic on which we will be going to talk today. And because the tools are qualitative and quantitative, so we have to at least understand what qualitative is and what quantitative is, right? So I have just now given you some data. So any student who can volunteer, who can tell me that out of the data which I have, data means up till now whatsoever we have talked, means I have talked to you or I have told about myself, and I have talked about the thing which we will be presenting. Out of this, what was quantitative and what was qualitative? I intentionally have delivered some quantitative data to you and qualitative. So anyone, can you please tell me what actually it is? What was the quantitative part of it? Anyone? Yes. Yes, come on. Quantitative and qualitative part we have just not discussed. Anyone from you? Okay, you might not have.
Like I think with statistical data we do the research, and qualitative is like we do with simply summary and all that.
No. I am asking you. Up till now, I have delivered you some quantitative and qualitative data. What was that? So as soon as I logged in, I told
You can
you.
read the answers which has given in the chat box. Some students has given answer in the chat box.
Okay, so again, I have to go stop sharing this in order to see the
No,
chat.
no, no.
I will tell you. I will tell you.
Okay, please tell me then.
There's a student Angel. She's saying that quantitative was you told us about the number of workshop you have done.
Okay, great. Just now. And what else?
You
One
have
more
attended
thing was there.
workshop in the lockdown was a quantitative data with Doshi Sharma.
Okay. Fine. Quantitative, excellent. You have picked up very good thing. I was expecting that you will be giving me answer. That as soon as I entered, I have seen, oh wow, the students are were to 114, 15, 16, and it is increasing. I just displayed one quantitative information, which makes sense that, oh, how many students are sitting in my class, and which has actually fascinated me. Oh wow, great. Many people are listening, so I will be able to deliver a good lecture today. So that was one of the things which is, and it has qualitatively increased my enthusiasm. I hope you are able to understand this. Right.
Yes, sir.
So these are the things from where we just take a start, where we take a start of that what actually is quantitative and what actually is qualitative. So let us just go for an evaluator may wish to measure the knowledge or the social skills among the program participants. The evaluator may administer the surveys to participants to test their knowledge of these social skills. Right. So what will happen? What type of information he will be collecting? Counted or the expressed numerical expression, or variables that can be identified, or relationships which can be measured, or certain things which require the use of statistical analysis. So if I just want to measure that the education which I am imparting, or the knowledge which I am imparting to you, to what extent it is you are able to understand that, that will be in the form of quantitative data. Whenever we appear for exams, what happens? We just get some good marks. So these marks are the indicator of the knowledge which we have actually achieved, or which we have actually learned during the process of teaching learning. Okay, so that is a quantitative data, and we can just take out, we can just actually make out that, okay, if I just want to know that the education imparted by me were understood better by girls or by boys, what I will do, I will take the mean of girls, mean of boys, and we'll try to compare it, and we'll try to see whether this data makes some sense or not, or why I am able to impart a better one. It means what I will be able to make some conclusion that girls are being more sincere than boys while attending the class, or boys are being more sincere while attending class. Whosoever will score the higher average will definitely be, I will definitely be able to make out, and there I will be able to infer that the result to the population itself from where we are coming, that are girls more attentive these days, or are boys more attentive these days? They have become more attentive. So these are the things which we want to actually go with this qualitative data. So often perceived as a more objective method. So this is something more objective, more precise, where I would like to, do the analysis. Okay, so it is typically collected with the surveys or the questionnaires, or you can say these type of results which I am just now telling you. So it is often expressed visually by use of graphs. Right. So when the data is quantitative, we can prepare graphs out. Yes.
Presentation is visible.
Yes. Sorry, is it visible or not?
No, it is not visible, sir.
Oh, is it so? Sorry.
Yes, sir.
This actually, hold on. I have actually presented the entire PPT and still it is not. Anyways. Okay. Fine. Okay. You can see my blue screen now, yeah?
Yes, sir.
And now you can see my PPT. Hold on.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
So I was just talking about these things which I have just now told you about. Okay. Anyways, you have not missed anything without seeing this PPT itself. So this is what is a quantitative data which we are referring to. It means it comprises of graphs, it comprises of visuals. We can create a visual effect with the help of the quantitative data we have. At the same time, the qualitative data which we have, the evaluators may wish to look at the level of the engagement after the school staff of the program training. For example, I just want to see a effect of my teaching to you. Then what will happen? I would not like to just try to make out the extent of your learning, but I would like to just see that how delighted you are or how bored you are while listening to me during this 1 hour. Then what I will do, I may conduct some interview, right, of the two students who have participated. Or if there is some training program going in the school, I would like to ask the staff members to what extent they have felt engaged, or what can be done in order to make it more engaging, right? So these type of things can be done with the help of interview, and here we are trying to see the non-numerical data or the patterns which are actually making sense. So I would like to ask the people that, okay, what else should I do in order to improve myself? Okay, what should be there in order to having some more fun? Or it is an online program, so what else can be done in order to make an online program more learning and more engaging? So that what, and these all are the qualitative data, which again is equally important for me to understand and to use it for the sense that I'm able to improve myself. So whatever type of research we do, whether it is a quantitative data research, qualitative data research, a research will be helpful only when it serves some social purpose, or it is able to give some inputs to either to organization or to a human being or to someone. So one or the other way, a research is a research when it is helpful for the society, right? So non-numerical data also equally tells us that actually when we have to go in depth into the research problem, we use qualitative data rather than the quantitative data. Rather, sometimes I believe in that actual research happens when we are using qualitative data. Okay, so it often describes how much rich a qualitative data is, or what is the content of it. It means we would be going with the content analysis something. It is more a subjective one rather than a objective one. In that we are objectively seeing that whether you are able to understand it or not, okay, or to what extent you are able to understand it. So sometimes what happens, the qualitative things are missed in quantitative and quantitative things are missed in qualitative. And in order to just have this, we have mixed method. So an evaluator who has actually given a training program to the staff of a school or to staff of some company, and he like to, or he want to just understand not only as a statistical analysis, but also he want to conduct a focus interview in order to understand that how was the feeling of the participant. Now this feeling, love, affection, hatred, or you can say jealousy, or otherwise any other expression which we have, which a human being has, cannot be quantified. So in order to have that, in order to you can say feel that, or in order to bring that into the data, we need the qualitative research methods, and mixed methods are sometimes applicable for this purpose. Okay, so mixed method helps us in collecting both qualitative and quantitative data from the same population, or it may explain the unexplained results using only one approach. Means I have already told you, qualitative may be lacking something which quantitative has, quantitative may be having something which qualitative does not have. So this mixed method sometimes is a better approach, and it helps to capture the best of both the outcome, and it can strengthen our analysis. Now further, if we understand, there are certain advantages and disadvantages of qualitative and quantitative data. So if we see about the advantages of first qualitative data, then we can say that it can give a nuanced understanding of the perspective and needs of the program participants. For example, we are talking of those program participants who have actually attended the training program. So we can understand that what are their perspectives, what are their needs. So it can help and help support or explain the results indicated in the quantitative analysis. So qualitative analysis actually helps to understand the thing in the which are there in the quantitative analysis as such, and the source of the related, or you can say the rich information that can be used to identify the patterns or the behaviors will be there in the qualitative, because it actually takes care of those things which cannot be expressed in terms of quantity. But at the same time, there is a disadvantage that it may lend itself to working with the smaller population, may not be representative of the larger demographics, because what the thing is, we would be able to collect only the data from certain participants who are willing to do that. Okay, whereas the quantitative data can be collected by the larger organization, or you can say it can be collected easily because it's an objective type of thing. You can float a questionnaire and collect the data, but you cannot collect all the persons in one place to have a focus group interview. And even those focus group interview will lose its focus if the people will be more than to what extent we can pay attention on. Okay, so that is the thing. So data analysis can sometimes be time consuming in case of qualitative we have, because we have to make inference out of the each and every interview or each and every focus group interview which we will be going to take. Okay, analysis can be subjective, and there is a potential of evaluator bias also sometimes, because sometimes we apply our own minds while interpreting something. So that is a, you can say, qualitative bias, or you can say subjective bias will be there when we are going with the qualitative data. In the same way, there are certain advantages of quantitative data, that it is very, very clear, very, very specific, and very, very objective, very, very up to the point. Okay, so it is accurate, it is reliable, and it is properly analyzed, because more analysis can be there with the help of numbers, because in numbers we can say 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, so that type of operation can be done. So it can be easily communicated with the help of graphs. You can prepare charts, and you can prepare the other things in order to demonstrate it and make the others understand about it. So many large data sets already exist that can be analyzed with the help of quantitative data, but not in case of qualitative. Had the data been qualitative, you cannot actually create the patterns out of it, and you cannot display those things as such. Okay, and there are certain disadvantages, like data collection methods provide the respondent with a limited number of response options. Here also you have to take, because there are, I'm just talking about the techniques by which we collect the sample, and we try to replicate the sample with the entire population when we are talking of the quantitative analysis, but the sample itself may be biased. So it can require some complex sampling procedures, which we will be able to see today itself. Okay, and may not accurately describe a complex situation. So that can be one thing, because when the situations are complex, because human mind is complex itself. So when we are talking of some complex situations, we have to go to the qualitative point of view in order to understand those things which are complex in nature, rather than going with the these points. Okay, so some expertise and some statistical analysis over here is needed, which is otherwise not required. So there, the qualitative analysis is required. So that is more a art, and this is more a science, you can say. Quantitative things is more a science, because it is supported with a cause and effect relationship, whereas in that case there may not be any cause of happening anything, but it is happening because it is happening. So you have to capture it as such, because it is happening, but you cannot just justify it with the help of something that why it has happened. But in case of a quantitative data, we can actually support our hypothesis with certain facts and figures. So that otherwise is not possible in case of qualitative data. So I hope you are able to understand the difference between the qualitative and quantitative. So would like to, if anyone can brief me out that what actually this difference is, and how can you just make it out just in one line. Yeah, anyone of you. You can write in the chat box, and I think somebody from you can read out the chat box as such, so that I will be able to understand. Yes, carry on. And as much as you want to write, so I would motivate everyone to write something in the chat box, and keep this class happening. Yeah. So in one line, how will you define the qualitative and quantitative? You have innovative ideas of defining it. So come on, let us just have it. Yes. Yes, any response in the chat box?
No, sir. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Qualitative, which cannot be measured.
Okay, very good. Qualitative is something which cannot be measured. You are very correct. Suppose if I want to just measure that how much your mother loves you, so can it be measurable? It cannot be, but it can be felt. And I hope you understand it is equally important too. Okay, so that what is a qualitative word? Qualitative, quality. We are talking of quality over there. And when we feel it, we really relish it and we appreciate it. Right? So I can't say my mother loves me 500 kilogram. Can I say like that? I can't. Right? So these are the things. And whenever we are able to quantify, but in social science, we sometimes try to quantify those things which are not to be quantifiable. Anyway, so let us proceed further. So, so the types of the variables further, if we just go with. So survey can be of many kinds of questions. There can be many kinds of questions in this survey, and these questions are often called variables. And there are some basic variables. It is important to understand the different type of variables because they can lead to different kinds of data which we are looking forward and which will guide our analysis. So variable is something which varies, okay, which varies from subject to subject, which varies from case to case. For example, if there are about 115 participants over here, everyone will be having their own unique, beautiful name which has been given by their parents. So that particular name itself is a variable which is varying throughout our population of 115, those who are present over here, right? So that particular thing is variable. In the same way, our height, our weight, our color, our creed, our religion, our gender, these all are the variables. Okay, so broadly speaking, we can categorize the variables into categorical variables and continuous variables. So categorical variables are of two types. You can say nominal and ordinal, and continuous variables are interval and scale. So these are called continuous variable and these are called categorical variables. So as the name suggests that categorical variables helps us to understand and put ourselves in certain category. Nominal, ordinal, interval, and scale are the other types. So nominal scale, if we just understand, now these all are the scales you can say which are used. So any data, any quantitative data in the world can be classified only in these four types of variables. There is no other type. If there is even if there is other type, it will be some of the subtype of these variables which are over here, right? So first of all, we will talk about the nominal variable. Nominal variable is something which is nominal. What is nominal? Nominal means that it will only give you an information that you belong to a certain category. For example, gender. Gender, as I have told, is a variable which varies across the population. Okay, so this is one of the categorical variable which tells us that you belong to this particular class or this particular gender. For example, you all are from different classes, maybe from first year, second year, and third year. So these first year, second year, and third year have categorized you and is telling you a thing that you belong to this class and nothing more than that. That's why it is called a nominal variable. Why? Because nominal variable will give you only a nominal information, very minimum information about what type of things you possess or what type of variable it is. So gender, you can say, ethnicity, you can say, our religion, you can say, these all are the examples of nominal variable which tells us about that in which category we belong to. Okay, in the same case, next is your ordinal variable. So ordinal variables are not only tells you that which category do you belong to, but it also tells you that what is the order sometimes. So because it is again, so you can say nominal and ordinal can be called as a qualitative type of variable, right? Okay, so ordinal variable will tell you a order. Okay, it not only categorizes you in certain criteria, but it also orders that criteria that you belong to. For example, a person is smoking 10 packs of cigarette, one is smoking 2 and another is smoking 1 pack. So a 10 pack of smoker, we will call him as a chain smoker. He is such a smoker which is means this smoking habit is very, very high. So here, though with the help of the pack of the smoker or with the fact of the person is smoking, we can categorize into certain categories. But at the same time, we can only order it that he is number one smoker, number two smoker, number three smoker. Sometimes we are not able to identify that how much far one smoker is from other. Okay, so in that case, it will be called as an order. For example, let me take another example. You are in first year, second year, and third year. Okay, now your IQ levels may be different. A person who is in first year may be having a very high IQ level than a person who is in third year. So now, if I say that this class, first year, second year, and third year, though it can be named and it can be arranged into that there is some first year, but I cannot say that first year is for sure having a lower IQ than anyone who's there in the third year. So these things are only in order to categorize you or only in order to make you in certain order, that you are in certain order. For example, let me take another example. If there is a beauty contest, okay, and if I have to rank the people in the beauty contest, so I can just rank that number one is the most beautiful, second number is second beautiful, and third number is third beautiful. But I cannot just say that first number is how much beautiful than second. So such type of things I cannot create because it cannot be quantified. Beautification is something which cannot be quantified as such. So this particular, but I can order it because those judges who have given they have ordered it in some way, and this order is to be followed, that we know that one is superior than the second is superior than the third, but how much superior it is, we are not able to make out. In that case, it will be called that it is a ordinal scale. Okay, so consequently, no information exists in the ordinal scale to distance it from one person to other or one category to other. In that case, it will be called as a ordinal scale. We can only know the order. Next scale is, you can say, an interval scale. Interval itself means a space in between. So when there is an equal space between certain things, then we can say that it is a interval scale. And you can just take an example of interval scale is that, for example, this temperature. Temperature is an interval scale because there is we understand and we know that we can add or deduct the degrees. Okay, for example, the difference between 60 and 50 degrees is measurable as 10, and the difference between 80 and 70 is also the same, that is 10, you can say. So there is an equal difference between these things. Another example, you can take time. Time is also a very good example of interval scale itself, because time itself is an interval. Okay. Now, one more important thing over here in interval scale is that it is not having a true zero. It is not having any absolute zero. Now, for example, what does absolute zero or true zero mean? We do not have the limit when this time has started. Even at 0 degree temperature, we will be having at least some heat or some cold we will be feeling. And at the same time, a person who is standing at 20 degrees of temperature, I can say that yes, he is 10 degrees more than a person who is standing at 10 degrees. So 10 plus 10 is equal to 20. I understand that 20 degrees is more than 10 degrees, but I cannot say like that a person who is standing at 20 degrees or who is there at 20 degrees will be feeling double the amount of heat which I am feeling, or I am feeling I am at 10 degrees. So I cannot say like that I am feeling half the heat of what the person is feeling at 20 degrees. So this cannot be quantified as such. And because at 0 degree itself also there is some temperature which is to be felt. That's why this interval scale is having one problem, that you cannot, though you can add it, you can subtract it. The information provided by this scale is more than the information which we have from as in case of ordinal and nominal. But in this case, because absolute zero is not there, true zero is not there, we cannot multiply or divide it. Okay, so that is the thing. So that's why this is called, and this is resolved by the ratio scale, or you can say the ratio scale is the ultimate nirvana. It comes to when it comes to the measurement scale, because they also tells about the order. They also tells about the exact value. For example, just take an example of height. A person who is 3 feet of height and a person who is 6 feet of height, I can easily say that a person who is 6 feet of height is double the height of the 3 feet. I can say like that. So I can measure it, I can multiply it, I can divide it, I can do any mathematical operation I want. Okay, so all those things for which the unit of measurement is fixed. For example, volume, suppose liter, kilometer, your weight, that is a kilogram. So these all things have the absolute zero, and we can measure it from that 0 point, and that is the reason why we are able to apply all the mathematical operations on these type of things. And that's why these are called ratio scales. And height and weight, I have already tell you that these are the example. And further, the central tendencies and all the calculations are done with the help of ratio scales only. Mean, median, mode, measurement of dispersion, standard deviation, coefficient of variation, anything you just say, these all can be done only if the scales are ratio. So this tells you about a brief about all the four types of ratios. You can just look at these at this particular chart over here on your screen, and you will be able to recall and distinguish between these four types of scale. Just give it 1 minute in order to understand it, and then we will proceed further. And meanwhile, if you have any question, you can ask. Now, if you see over here, ratio is having maximum ticks, right? It means ratio is the superior most scale and nominal is the least scale which is having. So this is the type of information which we will be getting from these scales. You can take a screenshot of this if you want. Okay. And some of you may share some of the photographs if you are clicking while you are seeing me on these presentations, right? And share it with me, or you can have a you can share it with Happy Madam. She will just forward these to me.
Sure, sir. We will share with you.
Yeah. So any question regarding this scale? So should I proceed further? Yeah, Happy Madam, any question in the chat box?
No question, sir, till now.
Okay.
No, sir.
Fine. So let us proceed now. I hope this is understood by everyone in a proper way. So let me just proceed. So analysis of quantitative data, we will be talking more upon this, because qualitative data, again, it's a totally, it will be a separate complete chapter, which I would not be able to finish off. So I will be more emphasizing on the quantitative data and the types of tests which you can apply. Okay, so analyzing the numeric information produce results from the data, interpreting data through analysis is a key communication results to the shareholders. So the type of analysis depends on the research design, types of variables, and distribution of data. So these are the things by which we see that what type of test we apply. Okay, so this section focus. So from here and onwards, we will be having two type of things which we will be studying in this. That is, one is a descriptive and other is inferential. So descriptive statistics, or you can say descriptive analysis, provides the information on the basic qualities of data and include the descriptive statistics such as range, minimum, maximum frequency. So these all are the types of descriptive things which actually describe the data. So it includes the measure of central tendency like mean, median, mode, standard deviation. This we will be doing. So what these are and how we have to report it, because when we are writing certain papers, then these are the things which we have to report when we are talking about data analysis part of the research paper. Okay, so there are many ways to describe the data, and descriptive analysis and descriptive analysis can describe what the data looks like. So there are certain common ways in which we can do. Just consider this a very, very small and the basic example is in order to make you understand that how it actually works. So just see this example which I have just now shown to you over here. So 5, 5, 5, 10, 10, 20, 20, 20. This is the data which is given. Okay. So on the basis of this data, we will be proceeding further with our other things. Okay. So if we have to just show the descriptive statistics, this data. So this data will be able to show our descriptive statistics as such. So what is the range? So in order to for what happens when we have to analyze the data, first we have to make the friendship with the data. Okay. So in the entire world also, whenever you want to analyze something, first you have to be friend of that particular person or that particular thing which you want to proceed further with, right? So here, if you see what is the range? Range is the difference between the highest score and the lowest score. Okay, for example, I am just analyzing that how much score you have obtained in your class, entire class. So I have to see that, and normally we do it. Normally when in the class, teachers do it, and even you also do it. यार सबसे कम नंबर किसका आया, सबसे ज्यादा highest किसके आए, isn't it? We are least bothered about who has got least marks, but this we always see that who has got the highest marks, and then teachers calculate the range between which the highest and lowest marks are. In the same way, while reporting the data in your research paper, you must calculate the range, minimum value, maximum value, and the frequency. Okay, so here if we see what is the frequency of 20? 3? 3 is the free, because 20 is appearing 3 times. And if we total item are 10, because 5 is given 4 times and 10 is given how many times? 2 times. So 4 into 6, and remaining is, so it is, there are 9 items over here. So 3 times 20 is appearing out of 9, so it is a 33% time 20 frequency is there. Okay, so this is the way of doing it. So when the frequencies are more, because when we are analyzing data which are suppose 500 students are there, then I have to put it into certain other way. So the other way will be the range in which I can put it. Okay, so what is the range of, suppose for example, who has scored from 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, and we just keep on doing that. And in that range itself, you get the grades from your teachers in the class itself, that who is in which category. Okay, so there what we are doing, we are actually quantifying the data which is, so we are giving a qualitative analysis of the data which is quantitative. Okay, in the same way, measurement of central tendency we do. I have already told you about mean, median, and mode. Okay, so mean, median, and mode can be analyzed using this. Okay, so we can take the mean of all these data. So what will be the mean? If we keep on adding all these and divide it by 9, we will get 11.1. So that is the mean of this. So this is again one thing which we showcase, or which we present in our research papers, because this particular thing, what we call as descriptive statistics, actually describes the data, whereas the central tendency tell you about what data stands for, what is the mean. Okay, so if I have to compare one thing with other, I have to calculate the central tendencies. Okay, so here median is also given, and mode is also. Mode is the number of times one item is appearing. So this here the item 5 is having the highest mode. You can say 5 is the mode of this particular data, and the median is 10, whereas the average is, you have to divide by a number, adding all the items in that particular data. So this is also one thing which we report. In the same way, when we think about how the participants are responding in general, for example, in mean, median, mode, we also need to consider how far this is. Means what is the distribution of the entire data. Then we use the standard deviation in order to see that from the central tendency or from the mean, how much is the deviation of that particular data. Okay, so that is seen by this. So as a measure of how close the scores are centered around the mean, we just go with the standard deviation, and standard deviation represents the average amount that a given score deviates from the mean score. That is what is called deviation. So next is your inferential. How will you make inference out of the data which is there? So once the data is appropriately described, inference can be made on the basis of that data. So inferential analysis, or you can say inferential statistics, uses the statistical tests to see whether an observed pattern is due to change or due to the program or intervention. So research often uses the inferential statistics to determine if there is a relationship between and prevention and the outcome as a strength of that particular relationship. So what happens? We have to see whether the data which is being collected, because we do not collect the entire data. Okay, we do not, and we cannot, it is not practically possible to analyze the census. Census is something which is which comprises of the complete population. So what we do is that we just pick out some data randomly from the population, and we analyze that data, and we try to infer that this data is replicable to the population from where I have collected that particular data. So that what is the inferential analysis, or I am making some inference from the sample and applying it or replying it for the entire data which is there. So inferential statistics provide an overview of the things to consider before starting the inferential analysis. Examples of some common statistical tests and the meaning of the statistical significance is to be understood. Okay, so one of the first step in inferential statistics is to answer the question, what is the distribution of the data locally? Okay, because how the data actually looks like, you have to just see it. So when you are collecting a sample from that particular population, you have to see whether whether it is looking normal or not normal. Okay, so distribution of data should always be checked before beginning the inferential statistics. And this type of distribution, if it is well shaped, then it will look like this. So the graph below is a what we call is a normal distribution. Okay, so in case of normal distribution, what happens that if you see your class also, there will be very few those who are having very highest marks, or there are very few which are having lowest marks also. So those who are having highest marks, they are at one end, and those who are having lower marks, they are at both. So at both the tails, these people will be there, and most of the class will be at the mean. So here we have calculated the mean from this data, which has come to be 11, and this is a distribution about the mean throughout. Okay, so there will be some people who are below the mean, there will be some people who are above the mean, but 68% of the population will be within one standard deviation, and if 95.5% population is at two standard deviation, and 99.9% of the total sample people are there within three standard deviation, then the distribution is said to be a normal distribution. Or if the distribution is not normal, then there can be other type of distribution. So if you see the distribution, sometimes in frequency it may look like this. So this is one of the example of a normal distribution, how it looks like. And if you see, most of the things are in the distribution will look like this in case if it is a normal distribution. For the non-normal distribution, there can be other ways of showing the non-normal distribution, which you can see. Okay, so there are, if the distribution is not normal, it will be either skewed from the normality, or you can say it is skewed from the mean. So this is something which is called negatively skewed, right? So the most of the things will be on the other extreme. Okay, if we just analyze the running speed of the people, those who are in the race. So those who are in the race will be, very few people will be at the end. So most of the people will be having their average, and in this case, the average will be deviated towards the right hand side. Okay, then it will be called as if it is a negatively skewed. In the same way, there will be a positively skewed data also, in which the data will be, where you can see the visualization of data will be like this, in which the most of the people will be having at the lower end. Or you can say these type of data, there can be a number of examples of such type of data. For example, that if you see the mortality rate, so this can take this type of shape. Okay, because these days less people are dying just because of the availability of good medical facilities. But this pandemic is one of the exception of it. Don't take pandemic as such, because these are the special cases which we have to exclude when we are going with analysis of any data. So okay, so most of the people, so the death rate will be very less, right? So in that case, the tail towards the right hand side will be wrong, and the data will be called as if it is a positively skewed data. Further, there can be kurtosis. You can say kurtosis describes a distribution that is either too peaked, or you can say too flat. Okay, so this can be one of the things in which you can say there is a peaked distribution, and on the same time you can say if the distribution is more like a flat, means all the data are approaching towards the same value, then it will be said that this is a flat distribution. So peak distribution and flat distribution, these are the two types of, and this we will be calling it as a not a normal distribution, because normal distribution follows a bell-shaped type of curve. Now, what are the various types of statistical tests which we can apply over here? Like, so after looking at the distribution of the data and perhaps conducting some of the things, we can just analyze that what are the various type of tests which will be available, right? So as mentioned previously, that inferential statistics are the set of the statistical tests and the researcher use and make inference about the data. These statistical tests allow the researcher to make the inference because they can show whether an observed pattern is due to certain intervention or it is by chance. So what we have to see is that what type of statistical test in such a situation of the given data can be used. So there is a wide range of statistical tests which can be used, and the decision of the statistical test to be used depends on the research design, distribution of data, and type of variable. So this is a very, very important line which is given over here, that what depends on the type of the distribution which we will be using is totally dependent on the research design which we are having and the distribution of the data and the type of the variable which we will be using. So in general, if the data is normally distributed, parametric tests should be used, and if the data is not normal, then non-parametric tests should be used. This is again a point to be highlighted, that what type of test to be used depends on the type of the data which is available, right? So for example, the most important and the first test which we think in our mind is correlation. So this test is used in order to just find the association or relationship between the variables. So correlational type of test, there are three types of correlational tests which we have. One is called Pearson coefficient of correlation, or you can say R, right? So test for the strength of the association between the two continuous variables. So when the variables are continuous in nature, or you can say that when the variables are either interval or they are either ratio, and we want to just see the association between these, then we will be using the Pearson correlation. Spearman-Ranks coefficient of correlation is used when the data is ordinal in nature, or you can say it is a non-continuous data. We can only rank those data. I have just given you the example of beauty contest. So beauty contest, the ranking is given to the participants because they cannot compare one with other, or we cannot actually quantify that. In that case, we use Spearman-Ranks coefficient of correlation in order to rank the things. Chi-square test is a test of association, and this is between two categorical variables. It says that is there any association between the things, or the things are just by chance, right? So in case of chi-square, what we are using is both the variables are categorical in nature, or you can say we can just see an association between for example, here itself, if we see, if in a room, suppose for example there are 7 males and 5 females, 7 males and 5 females, or you can say 7 males and 3 females, so it makes out 10, right? So what we can expect is that in these 10 people there can be some of the Asians, or some of the, or if we try to replicate have a replica of this to on 100 people, in that situation we can see that there can be 70 males and 30 females. Can there be? So this is one. What we are trying over here is we are trying to associate one data with other. So we are just trying to see the strength of the association between observed and the expected data. So that's what is done, and that's why. And there, if we are using such type of thing, then we will be using the chi-square test. Further, if we proceed further with the comparison of means, of which just now I was talking about. So if we are looking forward between the comparison of means, for sure here, if we are using means, the data must be continuous in nature, or you can say the data must be a data which either belongs to the interval or ratio data. So in that case, we can have a comparison. For example, if we want to compare the impact of, suppose, a training program. So I want to compare the impact of training program on the participants. So what I will do, I will collect a data prior to the training regarding their IQ scores, and I have provided them IQ training, and then afterwards I will be collecting data after providing the training. So pre and post test, I want to make a comparison, and I just want to know whether this particular training program which I have conducted was useful or not. Okay, in that case, I will use paired sample t-test. And in case if I am making a difference between the gender, suppose males and females of the same population, in that case, I will be using independent sample t-test. The thing, independent sample t-test and paired sample t-test, these are the difference between these two are lie in that in case of independent sample t-test, the population of the respondent from where I am collecting data is totally independent of each other, because a person can either be male or be a female. Means in this case, the people subject to the test will belong either to one category. They cannot be of two categories in both the categories. But in paired sample t-test, all the respondents pre and post are of the same test. Means they are subject to the same experiment. Independent sample t-test is used. It can be used pre or post the experiment. But you can say for experimental type of studies, we always use t-test in order to understand the difference between the two. ANOVA is another type of t-test itself. You can say ANOVA is a special type of t-test in which we compare the means of more than two variables, more than two categorical variables. If we have to compare the means of more than two categorical variables, then we have to use ANOVA test as such. For example, if we want to distinguish between lower, middle, and higher level of income group, in that case we have to make three comparisons: lower middle, middle higher, and higher and lower. So in such a situation, first I have to calculate whether there exists differences between amongst these three. So this type of test is done in two steps. First is we have to see what is the difference amongst all these, and in second step we have to see what is the difference within the groups. So in that case we use ANOVA test as such for our analysis. Further, when we have to see or when we have to predict one variable with that of the other, is there any causal relationship between one variable or other? In that case, we use regression analysis. So regression analysis can be used in two ways. One is a simple regression, and another is a multiple regression. So simple regression tests that how the change in the predictor variable predicts the level of the outcome variable. Or you can say there is one dependent variable which depends on the independent variable. So and what will be the impact of change in the independent variable on the dependent variable can be seen with the help of regression. For example, we can just take an example of demand and supply. These days, onions have become very, very costly, okay, as compared to the previous days. So as the demand of the onion increases, the price of the onion also increases. So it is totally dependent on it. Because demand is high, that's why price is also going high. Okay, or otherwise, if you conversely want to say because the price is high, is demand low. So this happens when the people are of lower income group. What they do is whenever the price increases, they stop using that product and they try to shift them from that product to other. But converse is the relationship when the people are of higher income group. They do not, it hardly matters whether the onion is 40 rupees kg or 100 rupees kg, they will keep on taking that much of onion which is required at their home. But they keep on talking, "Arey, mehenga ho gaya, that is okay." But they keep on consuming that because they can afford it. Okay, so the relationship is totally different. In case of multiple regression, we try to predict one variable with the help of 3-4 variables. And that's what is practically there. In simple regression, we are using only one independent and one dependent variable. So here, one dependent variable may be influenced by more than one independent variables. In that case, multiple regression is used when we are using such type of thing as such, right? So next is sometimes we use non-parametric test when the parameters are not there, or you can say that the data is not continuous. In that case, we use non-parametric test. So there is one test which is called Wilkinson rank sum test. So this test, it is a test to see the difference between the two independent variables, and it takes into account the magnitude and the direction of the difference. But these are non-parametric type of thing. In the same way, there is Wilkinson sign rank test. This is a test for difference between the variables which are related, and it takes into account the magnitude and the direction of the difference. But in what is the difference between these two is that one actually takes the sum of the things and other actually takes the ranks. So it actually takes the sign. Sign test itself is one of the tests which actually ignores the magnitude of change. It only takes account the direction. So these type of tests which are non-parametric in nature are also in use, and it can be used only when the data is non-parametric and it is not a metric data, or you can say it is a categorical data. Now, how to choose a statistical test? You can see this chart and you can understand it with the help of this, that how we will be able to choose. So what we are comparing is the first most thing. Okay, and if we are comparing within one group, or we are comparing between the two. Okay, so what type of comparison we are doing? Okay, so that actually makes you choose a test, because we have already discussed about all these things, but here there is a gist of. So how many data collection points are there? Either they are 1 point or 2 point, or you have collected the data at 4 point. How can 4 point data can be collected? For example, you have conducted one test over here, and means this is a pre-test data which you have collected, and now you have applied 2 tests, and again you are collecting one more thing. So it can be pre-test, test 1, test 2, and post-test. So there can be 4 points of collection of the data. In the same way, how many observations you have? Do you have observation more than or less than 25? Actually, previously what we used to have, the 30 was the figure which we actually used to, in which we used to make out that the data is a large sample or a small sample. So now it has become 25, but still for the sake of safety, we just take 30 itself. But if the data is more than 25, it automatically starts taking a you can say normal distribution. So if the data is not normally distributed, then again you have to think whether you have to use a parametric or non-parametric test. If the data is not normal, you can use only non-parametric test. But in case if the data is normal one, then you will be able to use parametric. And it is assumed, it is seen that if the data is, when the data starts increasing more than 25, the normality comes into picture. So it starts taking the normal position. Further, what kind of data do we have? Is it a categorical data or it is a continuous data? And if it is a categorical data, what type of data it is? It is a nominal or ordinal or a binary. Binary itself is a nominal type of data. It means it is a dichotomous data. Binary means you have answer in yes or no. Okay, so that type of data is called binary data, and we use binary data particularly for our logistic regression. If the data is continuous, then you have to see whether it is an interval data or a ratio data, and accordingly we have to take decision like what. So though for all interval data and ratio data, same tests are applied. Okay, further is what does your data look like? Is it a normal distribution or a not normal? I have just now told you, if the distribution is normal, then only we can use the parametric type of test. Otherwise, we have to go for the non-parametric one. So here some examples are given. I have just taken one example that if there is one group is there, and that there are 2 points of collecting the data, and the distribution is normal, and the data is a variable type. If it is suppose, for example, you are collecting whether the things are satisfied or not. In that case, you can use the pair sample t-test. And if there is one group itself, time point of collection of data is also 2, but the distribution is not normal. In that case, we have to use Wilkinson signed rank test instead of paired sample t-test. Okay, because the data is not normal. So here we will be using this non-parametric test. Okay. Further, if you proceed further, if if 2 groups are there, 2 point of tanks are there, and the data is not normal, then we have to go for Wilcoxon rank some test. Okay. In the same way, if the data is you can say so for example, assessing the weight loss after a nutrition. So what we are doing, we are just applying certain nutrition. We are changing nutrition of some people. So pre-test and then this particular experiment, and then again we are going with the post test. So in such a case, the data is continuous because weights is there and this distribution is normal, then you will be able to use the t-paired t-test over here. In the same way, when we are using this, then besides just calculating or applying these tests, we have to see about the statistical significance also. So statistical significance is also one of the important thing which is to be considered while seeing the using these tests. So we have to check whether the p-value is whether the things are statistically significant or not. When we are comparing two means and it is not having the statistical significance, then we have to report it accordingly in our research paper that this is not statistically significant. And those things which are not statistically significant is not at all meaningful for us, even if we have applied all the tests. But if the statistical significance is not there and if it is not reported, it is of no use. So it is very, very important to report the statistical significance. So whenever we are applying these tests using our various softwares which we have, in that case we use the statistical significance and then only we have to report the things in it. So this you have already gone with. This is the structure of the research article which we undertake in order to just have a research paper, in order to have a good publication. So these are all are the common items which we have already studied yesterday. So these are certain statistical softwares, because when we are talking of data analysis, what software we should use. So MS Excel is one of the very, very important and the basic software which we are using. Next is the SPSS, and upcoming, which is having unlimited access, that is what is called R. And let me tell you, I keep on organizing workshops, particularly for analysis of data using SPSS, and my workshop on R will be there in the month of February itself. It is upcoming. So those who want to join, they can contact me, and you can take contact number from Happy Madam also. And these are the softwares which we use, and these are the features of the software which I have displayed over here. Because when we are talking of qualitative and quantitative data, definitely we have to take care of the softwares which we'll be using in order to analyze the data. So this is all from my side. So I invite questions if there is time, or how we can proceed further. Yeah. Thank you all of you for patiently listening. Though there were some other slides also, let me just show you that also, because we have not talked about the multivariate technique. There are certain slides which tells about the multivariate technique, that what type of techniques we have. So these are the things which we go with the multivariate. So just for example, it's called a canonical correlation, structural equation modeling, MANOVA, right? This multiple regression we have talked about, discriminant analysis, linear probability models. Okay, for example, factor analysis is there, cluster analysis. Okay, measurement of scales of the attribute, you can say multi-dimensional scaling, correspondence analysis. So these type of analysis are there in case of multivariate, but each analysis is having its own significance. So each and every analysis is being explained, but actually what the thing is, this is a basic class. That's why I have not taken this. These are all the part of my extra slides which I have just now, and have explained each and everything over here. Right, what each analysis means and how does the equations regarding these analysis look like, right? This is all given, and these are all because time is not permitting, and these are even I think this is a basic class of your undergraduate one, so these things will not be applicable to you. Okay, so this is what it is we have just now discussed about, and thank you all of you for patiently listening me and giving me the time and opportunity to be with you. Thanks a lot.
Wow, what an informative session it was. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your knowledge and experience with us. I am sure all of us attending this webinar have learned how to do research in an effective manner. Now we will be having a question and answer round. If you have any queries, place your question in the chat box.
Yes, great session. Thank you. Yeah, if in our research we have to take what it was. Can you read it? Okay, I can see it now. Yeah, Anshu Maheshwari has asked something.
Yeah, I
If
will.
in our research we have take different age people, then we will divide the age in a particular group. But this will come in nominal scale or ordinal scale. You have asked a very good question. This will be a nominal scale because you are just categorizing. Right? Where is Anshu? Anshu, if you are there, you can on your video. So what the thing is, here we are only categorizing the thing. Age is used in order to categorize. That's why it will come only in a nominal type of variable. Okay. Rest all are saying thank you only. Any
Okay,
other
sir.
question? Anyone else?
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. Anshu has come up. Very good question, Anshu. You have asked. It was very much relevant.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Most welcome. Yes. Anything else? Happy, madam?
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, the wonderful session you have given, the various important information. So, no query from my side. Thanks a lot, sir.
Fine. So nice of you. Thank you for bringing me over here, and thanks for giving this opportunity to interact with all young and budding people of your college. And I'm grateful to Happy Madam who has given me this opportunity to interact with all of you. So please, Happy Madam, you can share my number with everyone over here, or even if you want, I can do that for you. And my number is 9634330885. Right? This is all for you. Right? So if you have any query, anything, and if you want to know about my workshops, you can just contact me. And one more thing, I have a YouTube channel also, so you can see those videos which you want to see over there regarding research on my YouTube channel. Just type my name, Maninder Singh Pava, and you will be seeing 2-3 channels over there. If you want to do something regarding research, you can just select the channel with the blue turban. So I have distinguished the channel with the turbans. So if you can select that channel, you can get back on my. And if you have any query, you can just talk to me. I've already given you my number. Right. So thank you, and I welcome all of you to be my Facebook friend also. Okay. So that is what it is, and thanks from my side. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of the previous committee, I take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks. You have directly and indirectly contributed to this workshop organized by our institute. At the outset, I would like to thank sir for we are really excited with your knowledge. We have learned so much from you today, and I'm sure it is going to help us in various stages of our lives. Somehow, you have made it easier for us to write a research paper. Your words have radiated a source of energy within each one of us. We are glad to have you for the session. Also, I would like to thank Father for his enthusiastic support. A special thanks to the Head of Department of Management, Kalina Sharma ma'am, and the teacher coordinator of the workshop, Shikha ma'am and Happy ma'am for their support and coordination. On behalf of the entire Xavier's committee, we hope to see you and get to talk to you very soon in person. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
I request all of you to turn on your camera so that we can capture this moment. Please, all of you turn on your camera.
You want to take some photograph?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's your duty to send me this photo.
Yes, sir. So,
Okay. Yeah. Fine.
thank you all.
Thank you all.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Should I turn off now?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So I'm not getting from where to leave.
So the red
Sir,
phone button, the symbol between
Okay,
the
yeah.
mic and the camera.
Okay, bye bye. See you guys. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sir.
Thank you,
Bye,
sir.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Shikha ma'am, Happy ma'am. Thank you, Khushbu.
Khushbu, thank you for
Thank you.
good emoji. And one more day, all of you, please join tomorrow also. We hope you will have a good experience tomorrow also.
Sure, ma'am, we will join again.